very nice to be here. I'm just always thrilled to be somewhere that isn't a wedding. It's just so nice for me. Particularly as the last wedding that I went to, it was back in Kent where I'm from, so my husband wasn't invited. And I got there and I realised I had slept with 3 of the men there. That's quite a high percentage, isn't it? Yeah. It was a small wedding, mainly family. Oh my God. But then I was like, let's reframe this actually. What a legend. I should tell someone about this, share the good news. I was quite drunk, so I was like, oh, who should I tell? Then I was like, I know who'll appreciate this. My husband. So I messaged him, but because I was quite drunk, my use of past and present tense was off. So I just messaged him saying, I've slept with 3 men at this wedding! Exclamation mark, phone died. The problem in my relationship is that I am a very bad drunk and my husband is sober. And the problem is you drink to forget, don't you? But he remembers everything that I did the night before and then he tells me the next day, which I think is rude. We're very proud of him though. He's been off the drink and drugs for 8 years. It's quite an achievement. Yeah, and I just thank you. I just can't wait till he relapses. Can't wait, counting down the days. Okay. We've been together for a long time now, over 10 years, so it's hard to keep the spark alive. One of the things we did recently that I recommend is we did our love language tests. I don't know if you know about love languages. So you find out what you need in a relationship to feel loved and appreciated. So it turned out my husband's love language was physical touch and quality time. So time spent with me made him feel loved and appreciated. And my love language was acts of servitude and gifts. I don't think my husband is my soulmate. I think that my soulmate is Amazon Prime. I'm in love with them. It's a problem. We went away for our anniversary recently to keep the spark alive. We went to this really nice hotel and we were sat outside in the courtyard and the sun was setting. I'd got really dressed up and I saw him looking at me and I was like, oh my God, I think he's about to tell me how beautiful I look. And then he's in tonight. I thought he was going to tell me how beautiful I looked. And so I was like, yes. And then he just looked at me and he went, Harriet, it's so weird. Like in some lights, it really looks like you have a beard. And I was like, oh, I did not think you were going to say that. Okay, happy anniversary. Enjoy this one because it might be your last. So yeah, we've been together for over 10 years and I have never cheated on him. Thank you. Thank you so much, thank you. Thank you. I feel so proud about that. And it's because I have cheated in past relationships and I know that is bad. I know it is a terrible thing to do. You can really hurt somebody, but my God, you feel alive. What a thrill, you know. Oh, they did the phone. Yeah, no, but it's a very bad thing to do. And I got a taste of my own medicine because early in my relationship with my husband, before he got sober, he cheated on me. And for a lot of people, yeah, that would be a deal breaker. They'd break up with him and they'd say, that is it, you don't deserve to be with me. But I think actually the bigger punishment is to stay with them and make them suffer every day for the rest of their lives. I'm like, did you do the dishes? And he's like, no. And I'm like, remember. He does them. One of my friends said that the best revenge if someone cheats on you is to sleep with their best friend. But my husband's best friend lives with his mum and doesn't believe in showers. Like, I only would have been hurting myself, you know. For me. I'm the kind of woman that thinks every erection is about me. Do you know what I mean? So like, my husband will wake up with a boner and I'll be like, oh my God. I can't believe I did that. And he's like, Harriet, it's something to do with you, I was asleep. And I'm like, I was asleep too, this is mad. Oh my God. Imagine what I can do when I'm awake. This is crazy. I am so powerful. So yeah, we've been together for over 10 years. So we met before the apps. So we met the old-fashioned way. I don't know if people are dating on apps, but a lot of my friends, they're worried they won't have a story to tell their kids when they grow up about how they met. So me and my husband are so lucky that we met the old-fashioned way. So we can say, when they say, oh, Mummy and Daddy, how'd you meet? We can say, oh, Mummy and Daddy met the old-fashioned way. Mummy and Daddy were at a party, and Mummy and Daddy's eyes met over the dance floor, and then Mummy went home and fucked someone else. The old-fashioned way! A lovely little bedtime story, so romantic. I was single for a long time before I met my husband, and I always thought, like, to be in a relationship, you have to be perfect. That's what I thought. Like, for someone to love you, you have to be perfect. So what happens is you meet someone, they just pretend that you're perfect. You know, it's like, hide that crazy deep down. Yeah. And you go out for a bit and you're like, they're falling for this. Yeah, just gotta keep pretending you're normal. And you go a bit longer and you're like, yeah, no, I'm cool, whatever. Yeah. And I thought what happens is one day you get married and you're like, surprise! It's too late! It's fucked. What I realised is I got into my 30s, I was married, and all my friends in the same situation, they were like, don't you find hope in your 30s to get married? All your family is saying, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? But what I realised is that no one in my family was saying that to me. Like, if anything, my mum was like, no rush, you know. My grandma was like, some women are never ready. You just do you. And I think the reason is I'm a bit of a mess. I have a scientific reason. I got diagnosed with something called Dyspraxia. I don't know if you know what that is. It basically affects your spatial awareness, your coordination, your thinking can be a bit confused. And I found out I had it because I was at dinner with my family, and my sister said, Harriet, I was watching Embarrassing Bodies last night, and I think you might have the same thing as the woman on it. And I was like, that is not a sentence you ever want to hear. Okay. And so I had to get tested for it, and I was so nervous and worked up at this test and what it meant, and Professor was coming to my house, a test minute, it was going to take all afternoon, and I got so worked up that I opened the door to him, and I just burst into tears, and I started crying in this poor professor's face, and I was like, I'm so sorry, I just got so worked up at this test and what it means. I was like, come in, and I led him into the living room, and I got my foot stuck in a bowl, and so I was crying with my foot stuck in a bowl, and I was like, I'm so sorry, just give me one moment, I just get this bowl off of my foot. And then he was like, no, thank you so much, Harriet, you just saved us 5 hours. I think you got it, love. I think you got it. So I was like, cool, what does that mean? He's like, don't worry, there's a dyspraxia forum for your sort. I really recommend it, bunch of morons. Some people are very serious and it really affects their life, but some people, they're just looking for an excuse. There was this one woman on it called Sheila, and she was like, hi guys, I don't know if this is a dyspraxia thing, but it really burns when I pee. I don't think that's a dyspraxia thing, Sheila, you know. This is a heavy weekend, Sheila. Like, you need to lie down, it's a cranberry juice, Sheila. It's a different thing, Sheila. It's different. So the diagnosis helped me to make sense of a lot of my life, you know. I lived in chaos, particularly when I was single. I once went home with this guy, right, and I was trying to act really together and really normal, because I liked him. It was the first time I went home with him. We went back, and he went to take off my skirt, and I was like, yeah, cool, mate, whatever. And then he went to take off my pants, and that's when I realised I'd accidentally put on 2 pairs of pants. So he took off the first pair, and then it was just like, my God! It's like, whatever she's hiding, it's clearly for a good reason. We just went to sleep. This different guy once came back, and my room was such a mess that we got into bed, and he found in my bed a high visibility jacket. I don't know what he thought. Like, you know how some people are turned on by danger? No, I'm aroused by safety. Buckle up, okay? I was standing outside my show last week, and there was a queue of people waiting to see me, and one of them was this guy was wearing a jumper saying Harvard. And I was like, oh no, I don't know, people that went to Harvard are going to be for me. And so I said to her, did you go to Harvard? And she said no, and I thought, phew, because people that go to Harvard, I don't think they're my crowd, but people that buy a jumper for $7.99 from H&M that says Harvard, they're my people. Okay. I went to this dinner party recently, and it was full of all these really smart people. And everyone was asking the smart people questions. Someone was asking about climate change and dark matter, and I was pretending to listen. And then it got to me, and they were like, Harriet, do you have any questions you've always wanted to know the answer to? And I was like, yeah, this is my moment. And I was like, okay, if sperm can swim, Why doesn't cum move? Yeah, gotta use your brains for this one, everybody. Yeah. So you see it on TV and it's like, woo! And then it comes out and it's like, splat. What is it doing behind our backs? Right, we've all seen the film Flubber. If you haven't, what are you doing here? It's a classic. 2 years ago, I had to grow up because I found out I was having a baby. And so I was like, right, what do you do when you're growing up? Right, I had to get life insurance. That's a grown-up thing you do, you get life insurance. Think about the future. But I looked into it, right, and you get so much money. It's fucking nuts. You can get literally like £250,000. So I was like, if I was to die, like that would be the worst day of my husband's life. Like undoubtedly, like the love of his life, the mother of his child had just died. Then he wouldn't be able to help it, right? He'd have one moment where he'd just be like, woo! I won the fucking lottery! And so for that reason, I didn't get it. Because I would rather my newborn baby went without than my husband had that joy. That is how I feel about that. Yeah, having a baby was a big decision, right? Very big decision. Not the biggest decision I'll ever make. That's whether I'll get a fringe or not. That's more a long-term kind of thing. I think people make it quite stressful, the thought of having children. People really play it down. Like Michelle Obama said this year that she hated Barack for the first 10 years of her marriage. And Barack Obama, to her husband. I don't know, like, she said it because she wanted to give regular people hope, but I don't think she realised that actually took away all hope, because we're not married to Barack Obama. Right, because if my husband's busy, it's because he's having a nap. If Barack was busy, he was like in the octagon or whatever, you know? It's a different thing, it's different. So people have asked me when I knew that I wanted to have a baby, and the truth is, it was the night that my cat died. Traditional. Because I love that cat so much, right? I love that cat more than certain family members. Like, maybe not my husband, but like my uncle. You know, like, when I cried, that cat licked tears from my face. My uncle has never done that. If he did, it'd be weird. I'd be like, get off, unks, what are you doing? Anyways, I got back from the vet and I was so sad about my dead cat and I couldn't stop crying. It was this magical evening, it had just started snowing, and I looked down at my phone. I'd been tracking my periods, and I knew that I could get pregnant that night, and then the soul of my cat could get reincarnated into my baby. What? And I told my husband that, and he refused to have sex with me. But I had a baby, didn't I? Okay. And so I knew that I wanted to have a baby, but I knew that I didn't want a boy. You're not meant to say that, right? You're meant to say, I don't care about the gender as long as it's healthy. But the truth is, I would have rather a girl with a limp. And I know that gender is a construct, right? I just didn't want that toxic male energy. I happily would have taken a little femboy with hay fever. And I would have loved that little sneezy boy. Has anyone here been pregnant recently? Give me a cheer. Had a baby recently? Woo. Did you like being pregnant?
Yeah.
Fuck you. No, good for you. So happy for you. Fucking hell. I don't know. I just found it was a load of things you can't do, right? Like, you can't drink, you can't go on roller coasters, you can't do drugs. In moderation. NHS advice. Trust yourself, you know your body. No, I shouldn't do them anyway. I get a rash. I experimented a little bit in my 20s, and I'd always like react really strangely. I once got home from this party and I was like really wired and I couldn't sleep, and I was like, I know, I'd go and chat with the guy at the local shop because I was friends with him. Lucky him. I got there and I was like, we get on really well. We've had this mad idea, right? If we're not both married by the time that we're 40, we should marry each other. And he was like, I'm 62 and this is my wife. Okay. Interesting. I found all the advice when I was pregnant so patronising. Right? I read this book and they were like, look, you have to eat really healthily and think of a baby all the time. If you do accidentally eat half a pizza, go to bed, wake up the next day, and it's a new day. And I was like, half a pizza? I've never eaten half a pizza in my life. The only time I've eaten half a pizza is when I've eaten my own pizza and then said to my husband, are you going to finish that? And your pizza as well, thank you. And I was so worried about my body changing, and I think all the celebs make it so difficult because they're like, I had to work so hard to get my pre-pregnancy body back. I had to work so hard, I didn't even recognise myself after I had a baby. But what I realised, right, is that my body didn't really change. The key is to have a bit of a garbage body beforehand. I've had a double chin and a wobbly tummy since I was 13. I'm back, baby. yeah. It's the same old me. Okay. Then I was so worried because they say when you have a baby, like you can just go around, live your life, just piss yourself out of nowhere. And I was so nervous, I was worried, and I opened up to a friend of mine, and she was like, Harriet, I've been on nights out with you, you've pissed yourself loads. You don't need to worry about that at all. And then I was worried because they say when you have a baby, your vagina and your arsehole can become one. But like that's a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm a busy lady, you know. I don't have time for vagina and an arsehole. I've got things to do. I've got a baby to raise. Yeah, your vagina and your arsehole become one. It's like some kind of fucked up Spice Girls song, isn't it? Horrible. It took me a while, though, to feel like myself again. I had this moment in the summer where I just stopped breastfeeding, and I went to this spa, and I was sat in this steam room alone, and I was like, you know what? I'm back. I feel good. And in that moment, the door of the steam room opened, and this woman peered in, and the steam cleared, and she looked at me, and she went, Tony? I was like, I'm not Tony. And to be fair, I saw with a guy afterwards who I guess was Tony. Absolute spit. Me and Tony separated at birth. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to be sexy because there's a specific sexy look, isn't there? It's like the Kardashians and the Love Island girls. It's like swollen face, swollen lips, and swollen areas. And that's actually quite a good look for me, right? Because I have a very allergic reaction to nuts. And so that look to me is just mid-anaphylactic shock. So I'm like, quick, eat some peanuts, upload me to Instagram. I've never been so beautiful. But it works in good ways though, these allergies, because I didn't have to do those pelvic floor exercises, you know, Kegels. I didn't have to do them because I just put peanut butter on my vagina and it swells up in no time. It's great. It does, so it attracts a lot of dogs. It's been a difficult couple of years. A lot of people got puppies. I have been trailed by many Labradoodles, let me tell you. And I was like, maybe I should get lip fillers, you know? I've got some friends that have it looks great. Then I read this article, and they were like, the idea behind lip fillers is you want your lips to be big, but they're not just big, you want them to be tender. And then you put lip gloss on them, and then they look like a wet vagina. And then potential mates are like, oh my God, there's a vagina on that woman's face. Let's marry her immediately. But I found a more fun way to do it, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smoke loads of cigarettes. Yes, my lips look like a really wrinkled arsehole. Yeah, I know what the boys want. Because the look they're trying to achieve, the Kardashians, is this body shape they weren't born with, where they get bits of fat sucked out of places and added to other places to create this cartoon body shape, like Jessica Rabbit, right? But I don't want to be Jessica Rabbit. I want to be a different cartoon. Yeah, I want to be Minnie Mouse. Yes, I want to get all the fats into my hands. Yeah, the massive hands, you know. Just make all the dicks are really small. Yeah. Massive hands, tiny dicks. Let's go. Okay. Because Kim Kardashian said this year that she would eat poop if it made her look younger. And Gwyneth Paltrow was like, ka-ching! Somebody get a bucket, let's do this, okay? And I don't know, like, now you can change how you look if you don't like it. If you have enough money or you have a friend with a steady hand. And I don't think my generation knew that was an option, right? I have a friend, she's 10 years younger, and she got a nose job. And I said, why did you get a nose job? And she said, oh, I saw a picture of myself and I didn't like how I looked, so I decided to change it. I don't think my generation knew that was an option. Instead, you get ready for a night out, look in the mirror, not like what you saw, do a Jaeger shot, get on with it, you know? Different approach, different. And I've now had a daughter, you know, and, you know, I was thinking maybe I should get a nose job because my nose is a bit wonky. Then I was thinking what will happen when my daughter, she grows up and she looks at me and she's 8 or 9 and she says, Mummy, why don't I have the same nose as you? And I'd have to say, oh, Mummy did have the same nose as you, but I got rid of it because it made me feel sick. But you can't do that because you didn't have any money. I said that on this Zoom, right, with all these LA producers, and I realised as soon as I'd said it that they had all had nose jobs. But I feel really safe here in Soho with you guys. So Real nice crew, good for us. Okay, stay true, all right. So I was thinking, maybe I'll get Botox soon. But then I thought, you know what a middle ground is? Rather than get Botox and put poison in my face, instead I'll get microneedling and burn it off. That seems like a better idea. And so I got it right, and I went so red. And before she showed me the mirror, the lady was like, okay, before I show you how you look, I'm just going to say, don't be alarmed. Nothing ever good happens after the sentence, don't be alarmed. But for some reason, I was so confident about it. I really thought she was going to be like, don't be alarmed. But it has gone so well, you look so young that we are concerned that you're a paedophile risk. And we don't know if you should leave here. It's concerning. It's a bit worrying, actually. We are nervous. I don't know. Apparently now the average woman in America spends $15,000 in her lifetime on makeup. Like $15,000. Like, what a waste, you know? Like, you get 2 boob jobs for that. No one's looking at your face, are they? They're looking at your 6 boobs. 4 on the front, 2 on the back. Let's go. Yeah, pretty fun. But it affects everything. Hillary Clinton, when she was running to be president, her team apparently did a survey on what could make her more likeable. And it turned out what people were put off by was her face. So she had to spend an hour in hair and makeup every day, something the male candidates did not have to do. And I think it's kind of good she didn't become president, you know, because then she'd have had to spend an hour in hair and makeup every day, she'd have had to be president. Like, how is she ever going to find the time to run her paedophile ring? It's a joke for all my QAnons out there. You think I don't got you, but something for everyone, you know, yeah. No, but Bill Clinton managed it. So it's possible, allegedly. Okay, don't get me, Bill. I went to the hairdressers when I was pregnant, and we were just chatting, and I had my phone, and she saw the screensaver on my phone. It said my husband, and she went, "Oh, is that your husband?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And she went, "Yeah, no, I can see the resemblance." What? I mean, this seems rude, I don't know. I was really nervous about giving birth. I was so nervous about it. I was convinced I was going to die in childbirth. And I spoke to a friend of mine, and she was having a baby around the same time. And she said, "Harriet, I was convinced I was going to die in childbirth too." And I was like, "That's mad." And she was like, "Yeah, did you have the chat with your husband?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, I said to my husband, no matter what happens, don't worry about me, just save the baby. Don't worry about me, just save the baby." She was like, "Did you have that chat?" And I was like, "Yeah, I had that chat, but it was different." I was like, let's aim for both, you know, because I spent a lot of money on therapy and that shouldn't go to waste. And I had given up a lot over 9 months. I shouldn't have to give up my life. I had given up soft cheese. It is a lot to ask, actually. And so the labour happened very quickly. So I knew that I was in labour, but no one believed me. And I think one of the reasons is that my waters didn't break. And so the baby came out in the amniotic sac, like in the cowl. But we didn't know that at the time. So she just looked like an alien splodge. And so the midwife said to my husband, "Oh, do you want to go and have a look at the head?" And so he went to go and have a look. And I went, "Oh, what does she look like?" And he went, "Don't worry about it, we'll see." I was like, "What do you mean, we'll see?" And he was like, "Let's just get it out and then we'll deal with it." Fucking hell. I was like, I didn't think our future would emerge well, but I think we're creating an alternate life force. Like, what is happening? And I wanted one of those nice photos after I gave birth. You know, like you see on Instagram, like they give birth, they look so fresh, you know. And I was thinking, that's what I want, but I'm going to have to cheat the system. So I was like, as soon as I got into labour, I had a shower. But then the problem is, my labour happened so quickly, I didn't have time to dry or brush my hair. So my hair looked wild. I was coming down off morphine. The baby was beautiful, but like when her face settled. And so we have this photo of both of us. It looks like we've both just come out of an amniotic sac. Then my friend was like, "Harriet, I didn't see a photo on Instagram of the birth." And I was like, "Yeah, we're really private people, actually. Keep that between us, thank you." Okay. So we had to name the baby, traditional. We decided to call her Mabel, little baby Mabel. It just felt a very comforting, familiar name, like we'd always known it. And it turns out Mabel is a very popular name in our area for dogs. Absolutely loads of Mabels everywhere. I'm like, "Mabel," and then loads. It's the peanut butter. It's different. Let's not go into it here, okay? So Mabel was born one day late, one day after her due date, and my husband, he was actually 3 months premature, which is very premature, and that means that the baby is actually more developed than him. It's amazing. She's going to be raising him soon, you know. I am actually glad that he was premature. You're not meant to say that, but I am, because I don't think I could have got him if he was fully cooked. You know what I mean? Like, he'd have full lung capacity. You know, like, he'd be able to run. Too good for me, thank you, too good. People have asked me like what I thought the birth was like. I thought it was a bit like anal. You know, like, you're worried it might hurt, you're worried that you might poop yourself, but it's all just worth it for that little look on your partner's face. So it suddenly all made sense. I was handed the baby and I was like, oh my God, I get it, finally. My whole job in life is just to keep this little precious baby safe. Then I was like, what the fuck? I've been trusted with a baby. I'm not a trustworthy person. I was once walking down the street and I fell down a 10-foot hole. I can't be trusted with a baby, this is chaos. And so then we had to take the baby home, like you have to. They insist. And the problem is we didn't have a car seat and they insist they see a car seat before you can take the baby in the car. We never got a car seat, so the baby is still there, but she's in the best place, you know. So I had the baby at the end of 2021 and it was a weird time. There was a lot of disease around, a lot of COVID, and I was really worried that this precious little baby was going to get sick with her little immune system. And I took her back to Kent for Christmas when she was only a few days old. And my mum, I think she was trying to be helpful, but what she said was, Harriet, don't worry about it, okay? The baby came out of your vagina, so she would have picked up a lot of bacteria from there. I think she meant it nicely, but it felt pointed, you know? Because I've had chlamydia and she knows that. Do we have any other survivors in? You fucking liars, 1 in 3! At least 5 on this row, that's what I think. Just saying, I can smell it. I've never said that, but no, I said that. I don't know. I found getting diagnosed with chlamydia, I found it's a bit like Secret Santa. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just at the office, just looking around, just thinking, who gave me this? Who didn't wrap their present? And then you have to go to the clinic, and they're like, oh, so if you can tell your previous sexual partners. And if you're anything like me, you're like, no, thank you. And they're like, don't worry, we can do it for you if you give us their numbers. And I'm like, well, joke's on you, some of them don't have phones, so good luck with that, okay? They're like, don't worry, we do it in the kindest possible way, and it's completely anonymous. I was like, what does that mean? What, you send them a Christmas card? And you're like, happy holidays, P.S. you are riddled. I try and talk about chlamydia to get rid of the stigma and the shame, and then I did the show in Wales, and it turns out some people could do with more shame. Because I said, do we have any chlamydia survivors in? And this woman in the audience went, woo! And I was like, oh, cool, how long have you been clean for? And she went, still got it! And I was like, oh, how long have you had it for? And she went, 3 years! And I was like, you know you can get antibiotics, like you can get it cleaned up. And she went, you can't drink on antibiotics! That woman was me. I do think there's such different standards, isn't there, with sexual dynamics. It feels like men, you guys, you're meant to be proud of the amount of people you've slept with and like boast about it. And us ladies, like women, be ashamed, you know, like hide our number. But I'm proud of the amount of people I've slept with. Yeah, I've even got a nickname for them. Yeah, call them the Hateful Eight. T. 7. And some people might call me a slut, right? That's what they do, don't they? But I'm not. I don't know how to say goodbye. It's hard, isn't it? It's confusing. You're like, handshake, hand job. I don't know. Just trying to get on with my day. I think we should make like sloths. That's what I think. I don't know if you know how sloths mate, but apparently how they mate is the female sloth will get horny and then she'll scream and all the male sloths will come running, but like slowly. And the winner has sex with her, you know. I think that's fun. You don't have to get to know anyone. You can be at home, having a nice evening, watching Selling Sunset, feel a bit horny. Ah! You know, load of sloths, lovely. Lovely, very exciting. I don't know. I think it's difficult. It's scary out there now. There's a war on women. We've got incels. They say these terrible things about women. I read this article where they described women as whores riding on a cock carousel. It's like a cock carousel. Can someone invent that, please? Doesn't that sound great? Imagine the Hindus on that. I love that. Fucking idiots, they're inventing things for us. What is happening? So it's difficult to feel confident, especially as a young girl, and we've got so many messages coming at us. I would always try and be confident, and it would never work. I once went to this interview with the BBC, and I was like, right, I'm going to appear really confident and really comfortable. And so I sat down, and I said, the thing about me is that I am just very comfortable. And then there was a pause as they realised I tried to say that I was very confident and comfortable, but what I'd actually said was both, and thereby proved that I was neither of those things. But you know who is, I think, the most confident people out there? Sexual predators. Harvey Weinstein, he is so cocky. I have never known anyone more confident than Harvey Weinstein. I think what we should do is get sexual predators to teach self-esteem to young girls. That's what I think, but from behind thick glass walls. Let's keep them safe, okay. I had to go back to work quite quickly after having my daughter, and it was a weird time, you know, because I needed to make money, you know, because I'm freelance, but also I wanted her to feel proud of her mother and see her do a job and talk on stages around the country about her chlamydia. That's very important to me, actually. So we had to start using babysitters, and I found this app, right? I recommend it. It's called Bubble. But my mum's been telling everyone that I've been getting babysitters off Bumble. Like as if I'm just luring them over, you know, and then I hand them a baby. And they're like, fuck, my dick pic was powerful. And the second babysitter we ever got, like, she was very sweet, but her English wasn't great. And I was still so nervous leaving my little baby. And I left to go to work, and I was just crying, and I was so worried. And I was like, I know, I'll just message and check in and just see how she's doing, and that will make me feel better. I'll just say, like, is she sleeping? And that will reassure me. So I messaged and said, is she sleeping? And she replied, and I think she meant to say yes, but her English wasn't great. So what she wrote was, her eyes shut, she don't move. She followed it up, the most terrifying message I've ever received. She angel now. The little angel emoji. It's like she's a fucking baby killer and I'm paying her £12 an hour to do it. What is happening? I left to go on my first girls' trip without my daughter, and I felt so guilty, I felt so bad, and I got in the car and I was like crying. Then I was like, Harriet, pull yourself together, you know? People leave babies to go to war and you're going on a hen do, so I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Good for you, actually, good for you. And then I was driving with her in the back for the first time, and they say that parenting comes easily. I don't know if that's true in my case. So I was driving with my daughter in the back, and she started crying. And I was like, oh God, I don't know what to do. I can't get to her because I'm driving. Then I was like, I know what a good mum to do. They'd sing a song. That's what I should do. I should sing a song. I'll sing The Wheels on the Bus. Then I was like, I don't fucking know the words to The Wheels on the Bus. So I was like, the finger bus is coming. Absolutely loved it. I loved it. She loves TV. Her favourite show is Euphoria. Absolutely loves it. I think it's just like the bright lights and the teen sex. So I'm trying to be a good role model, but it's difficult. I started volunteering in a food bank. I thought that would be a good thing to do. But the problem is you are just doing manual labour for free. I realised my favourite thing about volunteering, it is actually telling people that I volunteer. And then I realised I don't actually have to volunteer to tell people that I volunteer. So I quit. I want to be a good role model, but it's difficult. And it's scary what's out there, you know. Now we have Euphoria. When I was growing up, we had Dawson's Creek. There's been such a leap. What are these kids exposed to, you know? I don't want kids to think they have to grow up and the first time they have sex, they have to let someone come on their face. I want that to be something they can look forward to. It's good to have dreams. It's good to have dreams. My parents were very worried about me when I was younger. They're very protective. So they sent me to an all-girls school from the age of 3 till 18 because they were very worried I was going to get pregnant young. What can I say? I was a very slutty baby. They're like, watch out, this little slutty baby. So I went to an all-girls school and we did a lot of like home economics, you know. Like, don't know if you know home economics. It's like economics, but for girls. Yeah. So you learn how to bake a cake and cover a black eye. Very important things. I found all these things I'd had from when I was a teenager, and I was looking at them just thinking back. One of the things I found was this pencil case I'd had at school, and it had Playboy Bunny all over it. I don't know if anyone's around the same age as me. I had loads of things with Playboy Bunny on. I had a Playboy Bunny pencil case, you know. It's just so weird that Playboy went into education apparatus for children. Like, what a leap. Make men come, gel pens. I found my old Barbie. I don't think I want my daughter to have a Barbie. I don't think Barbie's a very good role model. Apparently if Barbie, with her dimensions, if she was made into a real woman, she wouldn't be able to keep her own head up. And I don't want my daughter's role model to be her mother on a night out. I want to aim higher than that. Thank you. I once saw this porn, right, of this woman putting a Barbie, a doll inside herself, right? It's quite intense. Yeah, but I think she actually had a very good feminist message. Do you know what I mean? She's like, I've had it up to here with Barbie. Fuck Barbie, literally. You're shaking your head, but I disagree. I disagree. Good role model, actually. Apparently Barbie was based on a sex doll, a German sex doll. Call me old-fashioned. I don't know if that's a good idea for a children's toy. And sex dolls, they're on the rise and they're getting more perfect and hairless and silent. And I don't know how I feel about sex dolls, but then someone asked me recently how I'd feel if my husband was to get a sex doll. And I don't think I'd like it, but it's not for those reasons I just said. It's because I've never seen him wipe down a kitchen surface. You should be trusted with a sex doll, you know. I found photos from when I was a teenager and we'd always go out dressed as something sexy, you know. So we'd go out as like sexy schoolgirls, even though we were schoolgirls. We went out as like sexy police. I think eventually we ran out of things to go out as because I found a photo of us dressed as sexy clowns. If you're wondering how to recreate that, it's big feet, red nose, tits out. Sexy clowns! And when I was a teenager, we had our first girls' trip away. It was very exciting and I was so excited. We went because my friend was trying to get over her boyfriend, and to be fair, he was hard to forget because his name was Garris and he drove a Yaris. And once you hear that, it gets in, you know. I think you can tell a lot about someone by what they drive. Like my friend, she drives a Mini and she's so cute, and every time she sees another Mini, they wave at each other, like it's so cute. And I drive a Nissan Micra, and every time I drive, someone yells, "Get off the road, you stupid bitch!" It's just a Nissan Micra thing. It's a fun thing we do. So we went to Newquay for our first trip away as teenagers, and it went to chaos. We lost our tent, we lost our money, so we ended up doing something we swore we would never speak about until this moment. We entered something called a Bikini Beach Babe competition. We had to dance on stage in a bikini in front of a jeering group of men, but you did get free drinks, and that seemed like a good trade for our self-esteem. And I came last, and the prize for last place was a vibrator. Because I think they were like, "You're going to need this, love." And I was telling my husband about it recently, and he was like, "Oh, it's a Sarah one." And I was like, "Can we not guess which of my friends won the Bikini Beach Babe competition, please?" But yes, Sarah won, obviously. The vibrator was exciting, you know, it was the first vibrator I'd ever had, but I was still living at home at that time, and I couldn't find any batteries for it. The only place I could find batteries was in the carbon monoxide detector. So I did have amazing orgasms, but some family members did slip in and out of consciousness. I got all my information growing up from magazines. That's where I learned everything, and I believed everything I read. One of the things they always said is that straight men are just more attracted to looks, and straight women are just more attracted to personalities. And this has been debunked, right? Apparently we've had to trick ourselves into being attracted to a specific sexy look because we sexualise women so much in society. So straight men have been tricked into being attracted to a specific look, whereas straight women have had to trick themselves into being attracted to personalities because what we see is just so upsetting. Burn, ha, got you all, okay, got you, okay. I think one of the reasons I didn't do very well in the competition is I was a very bad dancer, bad at moving, but also I was very hairy. When I started stand-up, I won this competition for being a woman in stand-up, and they gave you money, and I really needed that money at the time. I was hoping to go full-time doing comedy and could quit my day job. But I put that money towards laser-ass hair removal. So I guess it did work, as I'm here tonight. God, it's difficult being younger. I cared so much. I was always trying to be sexy and it never quite worked. I remember when I was at school, this boy came over and he was like, Harriet, I think the perfect girl had your head. I was like, oh my God, like amazing. He said it like it was this massive compliment. He's like, yeah, I think the perfect girl would have your head and Sarah's body. And I was like, I don't think that's the compliment you think it is, right? Because I'm mainly body. And a body. And I was like, well, I think the perfect boy would have Stephen's body, no head. That's what I think. Just a stump. Yeah, people could be quite mean. I had really bad eczema when I was younger and it covered my whole body. And people could be quite mean. There was this boy at school and he refused to play with me because he said that he might catch the eczema, and he told people, and it was a very lonely time. And then 15 years later, I slept with him. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Okay. And then I was lying in bed afterwards and I was like, okay, this is my moment, you know, to like stand up for eczema sufferers everywhere. I should say something. So I was like, you know, when you said that about the eczema, like it really hurt my feelings. But also it's not true. Eczema isn't contagious. You can't catch it. But chlamydia is, so you need to get checked out. Okay. Burn, literally. Okay. I don't think I always reacted to things right when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I saw a flasher. That's quite an intense thing, right? Someone's using their body to get a reaction from you. But I think because of my dyspraxia, I didn't see it that way. Because I just think that's such a fine line between flasher and someone that's just lost their trousers. Because I once went on this night out and I had this new skirt and it didn't really fit. And I got into dancing and I'm a bad dancer. I was in this busy club and it fell off and I lost it. And I had to get the night bus home in my pants. And because I'm a woman, no one called the police. You know? Because there's no such thing as a female flasher, is there? She's just a fun girl. No. I think we're moving forward in some ways, you know. Like they cancelled the Victoria's Secret Angel Catwalk show. I think that's a good thing. I used to love Victoria's Secret. I used to love their sexy panties for teens. I think it's good they cancelled the Victoria's Secret Angel show because I think it was based on a lie. I saw an interview with one of them, Lily Aldridge. And she was like, the thing is to be Victoria's Secret, that's how I imagine they walk. The thing is to be Victoria's Secret Angel is, it's not just about how you look, it's about your personality. And I was like, fuck off, Lily. Fuck off, that is not true. If that was true, Sandy Toxic would be storming down that runway. That is bullshit, Lily, and you know it. Bullshit. You can see the difference doing stand-up. 10 years ago when I started, I get so much advice on how to dress on stage. The advice would always be, don't dress up on stage or women will worry that you're trying to steal their husbands. Right, that's what they'd say, and I believe it, even though my favourite comics were women. So I never would have dressed up on stage. I never would have got my sexy little knees out. You know, what could happen? I mean, nerve-wracking. And now you can see the difference 10 years later. Now women are like, please, steal my husband. I don't give a shit, please, I'll live longer, do it. I don't know. I think one of the biggest enemies to progress, who we didn't expect, has been older French women. They want to be objectified. They've made it very clear. They're like, ooh la la, sacre bleu, croissant. Back in the day, we'd go into work, 3 men would come in our hair, and that was just Tuesday. Don't take that away from us. Curly Tuesday. I am all for female body positivity, but I do not feel the same about men. Like, I think that Speedo should be illegal. That's what I think, because I think they're like suspense in a horror film, you know? Like, you know something terrible is happening, but you don't quite know what the monster looks like. Horrible. And I don't know, there's just such a different standard. Like, it's how we're raised, you know, it's not innate. Like my husband, he has such body confidence, even though he shouldn't. He's just walking around with these tiny nipples, doesn't give a shit, right? He doesn't know he looks bad, nobody told him. He has this massive mole on the back of his head, and he won't get rid of it no matter how many brochures I give him. And sometimes I'll kiss him and my hand will accidentally graze the mole, and I'll genuinely scream. And then half an hour later, all these sloths appear. What the fuck? but it's happening. It's scary. It's a scary world for my daughter. I'm worried, we've got climate change, there's so much to worry about, and we're run by morons, they're not helping. Like, the other summer, all the world leaders flew in on private jets to talk about climate change. It's so fucked up. It's like me going to talk to my husband about how he must stop cheating on him. I just ride in on a stranger's dick. Yes, I know, I must stop. I can't stop. This is how I fuck now, it doesn't make sense. I had a baby, everything moved, okay. No, I couldn't even cheat on my husband if I wanted to. He's so open-minded. The other day, he was like, I heard Jason Momoa's in town. I know you have a crush on him. If you ever come across him, it's fine. You should sleep with him. I want you to experience these things in your life. And I was like, thank you, I really appreciate that. And I was like, if your celebrity crush is ever in town, he said, I can have sex with him. And I said, absolutely fucking not. And that is love, boundaries. I was like, what can I do to make things better for my daughter's future? What can I do to make things better? And I read this book, and they said the best thing to do is not to talk about it. Not to talk about all these things happening. It's just not to talk about it. Just carry on as if things aren't happening, don't mention it. But I actually disagree. I think the best thing to do is to talk about things. And I have proof that talking about things works, that they can make things better, because my husband came and saw this show, and now he wipes down kitchen surfaces. Progress! Yay! It's good for us! And it also said you should not say to your daughter, you are so beautiful. You're not meant to say that anymore. Instead, you're meant to say, you are so smart. Even though we have absolutely no evidence of that yet, Just lying to her face. Even the dog answers to its own name. She's not going to get the smarts from me, It's starting already with my daughter. I can see it. I can feel it. I had people come over and they say the weirdest things. Like, someone was like, you can tell your daughter's a bit of a flirt. She likes the boys, doesn't she? I'm like, yeah, she's a massive slut. Just like mummy, watch out, watch out. This person we don't even know, she came over and she said, I'm really sorry to tell you, I think your daughter's going to be a redhead. And I was like, that is such a small-minded, old-fashioned, archaic thing to say. Have you never heard of hair dye? We can change that. What are you talking about? But, it feels stressful. It feels worrying because, I just really wanted a daughter, and it feels like a lot of pressure to raise her right. And in a way, I kind of wish I'd had a son, and then I could have raised him to be better, and instead I just got a girl with a limp. It's hard to protect them from all this messaging. It's so difficult. I was thinking recently about calling my daughter Mabel, and I was like, it's just such a comforting, familiar name. It's like I've always known it. And I was like, fuck, I know why I called her Mabel. It's because the biggest marketing campaign when I was growing up was maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. I have named my daughter after a mascara. And I was like, well, at least Maybelline's a pretty name. At least it wasn't maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Vagisil. No, but apologies to any Vagis that are in. It's lovely name. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. You have been so great, and I've had a very fun time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Good night. Worried about my body changing because you don't know what's going to be on the other side, and I think all the celebrities. Am I on fire? What is happening? I don't know. Is this meant to be happening? I don't know. Do I just pretend this isn't happening? Just act like cool, I'm in a misty bar. Yeah, people can smoke at my gigs, okay, yeah. The Lord doesn't exist here, okay, let's go. Yeah, so I'm so worried about my body changing.
Thank you very much.